answer writing has a long gestation period. You can't learn the art of answer writing in 2 months, 3 months. You actually improve with time. I mean, I can say with Kunal's example also. Initially, even he used to write very bulky points, and I can remember he used to write whatever he knows. But with time, he refined his answer writing, refined, right? And at the later stage, he was writing to the point, crisp, right? So this art, it takes time to develop. It is not something that can be learned in only one day. Hello, students. Thank you for joining for this very special masterclass or session where we will be discussing about how to write good quality awesome answers in 7 minutes. Right. The idea is that if we talk about the preparation, if we talk about this whole exam cycle, mains is perhaps the most important phase of your preparation, and within the main phase, it is the answer writing that is the key. It is the answer writing that will decide your fate. It is the answer writing that will ensure that whether you get a rank or not. And within the answer writing, see, if people can get time, they can write very awesome answers. But you have to write an answer. You have to write a 10 marks 10 marks answer in 7 minutes only, 7 to 8 minutes on an average. So how do toppers write answers in 7-8 minutes? What are the toolkits? What are the frameworks that they use? All this we will discuss in this session. So I welcome Kunal Agrawal. And Kunal Agrawal has not just cracked UPSC once, not twice. He has cracked UPSC thrice. He has cracked UPSC thrice. And one thing that has been common to him is that he has always scored really good marks in GS. So he has actually cracked the code of scoring high marks in GS. So Kunal Agrawal is right now posted as Deputy Commissioner in Goa, and we really thank him that he took out the time for us to share his learnings and share his wisdom on answer writing. So welcome, Kunal.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a pleasure to be with you again after so much time. Let's hope I'm able to contribute to this session, and I'm able to help the students who are there in this live feed. Thank you so much, sir.
So one thing is that over last 7-8 years, I have almost mentored 400 plus rankers. But one thing, the fact is that Kunal was one of the first 10 rankers, who I provided some kind of mentorship. So in that ways also we have a very old bonding, and even with changed pattern also, he has been able to crack UPSC again and again. So this is myself, and I am the program director of the mains program at Vajiram, and this has been my journey. I had scored highest marks in GS in 2017. That was my last attempt. After that, I have been mentoring students, and this year and last few years, AIR 14, 20, 22, 25, they have been my mentorship students. These are some of their testimonials. We'll go through that. And then Kunal is there. So he has, I've said, 130 rank he has scored. And he is a computer science graduate from IIT. And right now he is posted as Deputy Commissioner Income Tax in Goa. So, and his optional was PSIR. So the framework of this session would be that we will be discussing the issue or the mudda, and then after that it will be an open Q&A session. So anyone, whatever doubts you have, you can actually ask us. So before we move, I would like to announce that we have just launched the Sure Shot Mains 2025 for UPSC beginners. That will start on 28th April. The admissions are open from today. So basically, whatever price that is mentioned on the website. So basically, we'll attach a form here, and it has only 50 seats. And mostly the first 50 students that will enroll, they'll get the 10% discount that we are offering. So basically, the team will basically attach a form there. You have to fill the form. Once you fill the form, you will be eligible for that 10% discount, or 10% early bird discount that we are offering. So this program has various aspects: 40 comprehensive tests, evidence-based question making, comprehensive syllabus coverage. We'll provide you with I'll provide you with monthly group sessions. There will be one-to-one mentorship. There will be regular IAS, IPS officers sessions. There will be a personalized report card that we will make. Plus, we'll provide you workbook, mains workbook that will act like your notes. They will be very crisp notes which you can use for your mains preparation. So various aspects we have in this program, and ultimately it will start from 28th April. So before we move, let's first discuss the first aspect, which is why should you start with answer writing now? Why should you start answer writing? Because this session is mostly for 2025 aspirants. So almost 13-14 months are left for their prelims. Now you must be wondering that sabse pehle let me first finish my course, let me first do all the revision, and then we start with the answer writing thing. So my first question to Kunal is, Kunal, why should we start answer writing from now? Why should we start answer writing from day one?
Sir, because first thing I would always say is prelims and mains are not separate preparation. They are an integrated course. You can't separate your mains preparation from your general prelims preparation. So it's better to just start right away. It is in our own advantage to just start right away. Start. Second is, sir, answer writing takes a lot of time to develop in terms of speed, in terms of structures, introductions, language. So in general, sir, the way we talk in our conversation, that is not the language that is expected in paper. Papers expect a better language, a legal term, or a particular subject specific language for which you need to practice so that it comes from right away your heart and mind when you see a particular topic in paper. If you see a question, you should have a plethora of keywords right in your mind कि ये keywords आएंगे मेरे आंसर में, and just write it. That can only be done through practice, sir. Secondly, sir, obviously 20 questions have to be written in 3 hours, and it always is hard. I remember ethics mein, I think everywhere for last 3-4 years I've been talking to so many people. Ethics paper is always missed because वो speed नहीं आती है लोगों की. It has to come from the first question, not after you've written 12 questions and wasted 2.5 hours. It has to start right from the beginning. First second you see the question, the speed has to start so that you're able to finish up the paper, but that can only be done with practice, not without practice.
Very good point that has been raised by Kunal also, that ultimately, why should you start answer writing? The first thing that which we all know is that this exam is all about mains. It's all about answer writing. You can gain immense knowledge, but knowledge is just one aspect of your preparation. It is the application of the knowledge to get marks that will decide that whether you will get a rank or not. Because ultimately the whole idea is that even with great knowledge, if you can't apply that knowledge in 7-8 minutes, that knowledge is of no use, right? You are not here to be, or you are not here to do PhD. You are here to apply the knowledge in that 7-8 minutes to get marks. And for that, you need to have a regular session of answer writing. Because if you think that pehle let's clear prelims and then after that we will start with answer writing. Now this is not something which is feasible, because in those 2-3 months, right, you have to do various things. You have to make your refine your notes, study current affairs, finish optionals, revise again. So ultimately during those 2-3 months you do answer writing only for practice, right? But the coherency, right, your style, everything, it takes time to build. Just like infrastructure, answer writing has a long gestation period. You can't learn the art of answer writing in 2 months, 3 months. You actually improve with time. I mean, I can say with Kunal's example also, initially even he used to write very bulky points, and I can remember, like, he has used to write whatever he knows. But with time, he refined, his answer writing refined, right? And, at the later stage, he was writing to the point, crisp, right? So this art, it takes time to develop. It is not something that can be learned in only one day. Plus, answer writing will also lead to revision. And see, when you write on any topic, even after 3 months, you will not forget. Right? So ultimately, it's very important that you write on a topic, and that's the best way to revise. Because when you revise or when you write, you will not forget that thing. So it's very, very important that you do answer writing, and that will also help you in revision. It will also help you in deciding which strategy is working for you. Because the whole idea is that not same strategy works for everyone. For example, there are certain rankers who are very natural in drawing diagrams. There are certain rankers who are not that comfortable. Even after that, they get rank. So which kind of style suits you? Answer writing helps you in judging, right? And lastly, I would say that exam simulation is important. See, the idea is that answer writing also helps you in improving your speed. It also helps you in maintaining that calm, because in 3 hours you have to maintain that calm. You can't be anxious, right? Plus it also improves your muscle memory. It also improves your recollection memory. So all these things are very, very important when you sit in the actual mains exam. So therefore it's very, very important, as Kunal has also said, that ultimately it's really important to start answer writing from now on. So now that we have discussed why do we need answer writing, or why should we start answer writing now on, let's discuss the 12 critical elements to write an answer in 7 minutes. So the first thing that we have maintained, or both me and Kunal together sat yesterday, and we actually identified that these are the elements which are important. So the first element is you have covered the topics from which the questions is asked comprehensively. Now my question to you is, Kunal, what exactly this means?
Um, Sir, I believe it says you've covered the topics. Uh, थोड़ा सा I would like to say here कि one student has also asked he is just starting NCRTs, can he start writing answers? Yes, you can start writing answers, and I think all of us should. Even if you have read the topics basics, you start writing answers. But through answer writing, you cover all your topics also. Sometimes there are topics which you would not have covered, but you see suddenly in a question, ki this has come. So you read and write. You cover all your topics, don't leave anything. You may feel that art and culture say question doesn't come, but it might just suddenly come. So you have to cover the complete topics.
So the idea is that the first point is that ultimately there are certain questions, certain themes. See, the idea is that can you predict the themes on which UPSC can ask questions?
Clearly, sir, there have been questions, there have been topics which are standard: women issues, caste, religion. Similarly, I think there will always be question on judiciary. You know that these questions are sure shot. It will never happen that this question will not come. Either in GS or in optional or in essay, somewhere they will come. So we should prepare those topics in advance. You should have an introduction, conclusion, you should have major key points, some data. I used to keep a data file, sir, always. In fact, my notes were ready for 2018 mains. Since then, I've not made my notes complete ever, because sir, with job, I'd never had time. So what I used to do between prelims and main is just create a data file for each topic. Take the whole syllabus, improve my data, each data on each topic, and that I would just start inculcating in my answers. That helped a lot.
Definitely, and as you have already rightly said that you can't really go to the exam with a mood that all these 20 questions, it will be unexpected for me. It should not be like that, right? There are at least 50% questions that you should be able to predict earlier only, and I think PYQ is a very important source for that. Very important source, because PYQ helps you in actually deciding or identifying those areas that are more important than the other areas. For example, Panchayati Raj, every year they ask a question, right? Cyber security, border management, federalism, these are the areas where they always ask questions, right? So it's better that you have already prepared introduction, conclusion for these questions, because 50% अगर आपने identify कर लिए questions, then that will save your time. You will probably be able to write answers in 5-6 minutes in those themes. and that will give you some extra 1 or 2 minutes in other themes, in other questions, which you might have not prepared that well. So it's very, very important, as Kunal has also said, that that it's very, very important that you need to see the PYQ. You need to identify those themes that are very, very probable. For example, I mean, I would say that PYQ is very important. Syllabus is very important. For example, if you have seen, Kunal, this year they have directly asked the question from this topic, e-technology aid for farmers. Directly they have asked this question. Right. So basically those points or those topics that are mentioned in the syllabus, they are definitely more important than other topics. Similarly, those topics that are technically, for example, post-independent India, UPSC is not asking much questions. So definitely that topic will be on your low priority. And those topics where UPSC is always asking, for example, cyber security, they have always asked question. This year, they did not ask the question. So next year, definitely they will ask a question. Now you should be prepared with your introduction, with your conclusion for this topic, right? So it's very, very important, this aspect, that you should, as Kunal has also said, that you should actually predict through PYQs that which themes are important, and beforehand only you should prepare yourself to write awesome answers for these themes. Second thing that we can do is note making. So what is your view on note making, Kunal? How important are note making in mains?
It's a must. With the time, I have seen that a lot of us have started to rely on market available notes. Ki we will read any organization's notes. Somebody else is preparing, I'll read it. But that doesn't help. That doesn't really help. I always say notes actually form a very core part of your preparation. Between prelims to mains, sir, we do not have enough time to go through the books again. Neither NCRT is not standard books. You can only read newspapers, daily news, and your notes. And sir, in 2018, I'll base my answers on 2018, sir, because that is when I did my full preparation. उसके बाद से it's only a patchwork that I've been doing. 2018 में my notes were so helpful that in the last 1 month of that 4 month period, I revised the whole syllabus twice. 15 days was the target for me, and I revised it twice, and it really helped me. No other market notes could have helped, because see, if you see any other note, they'll be bulky. You see in market, they're very bulky, but वो use होते ही नहीं है, sir. They are never enough. Plus, you're reading it for the first time. You don't know. You are not able to collect it in your memory. If we have our own notes, we are able to recollect things. कि okay, this is what I had written at that time, and then your memory cells kick in, and it really helps a lot. Secondly, sir, while note making, we can always plug in, like I have read one news today, second news tomorrow. We are updating our notes continuously. Books don't get updated. They will come only at some time, and data will only be there till that time. Let's suppose a report came in, data got upgraded, you will lose it. So don't rely on anybody else's notes. It is better to make our own notes. Plus, sir, while note making, you learn actually answer writing. In the note making itself, you do a structure. You go ahead with introduction, in which you write some facts. You go ahead with the main body, problems. You write with heading, you write what is possible to be written. Any committee names and all, you write then and there. So it becomes a part of the process, the note making, and it will actually help us learn a lot more and deliver a lot more in the paper finally.
Very, very good points by Kunal, and I think note making is very, very important for the journey of Kunal, because Kunal got selected, and then while in service he gave the next few attempts, and even in the next few attempts he again got a really good rank, right? And the idea is that the notes that he made in 2018 helped him to get a rank again in 2019 and 2022. So the idea is that it's just a one-time effort. If you can make that one-time effort, it will save a lot of your time. You will not have to go again to those basic books. You will not have to go again to those basic sources. If your notes are made well, you can just refer to the notes again and again, and that's all. Now with Kunal, who was working full-time, he did not had much time to study. If he would have gone through those basic books again and again, There is no way he could have got really good GS marks again and again. The main thing which Kunal did was that he made really awesome notes. And these notes were his toolkit for his next few attempts. Right? So that's why, as Kunal has rightly said, that note making is something which is most crucial. You can't write a good answer if you don't have notes. Because notes, you can revise those notes, those very crisp notes, you can revise them just before the exam, and then those pointers, it will help you in recollecting when you write answers. Right? For example, I'll show you this notes by Kunal also. See, these are notes by Kunal. So tribal issues is there. So see how well he has drawn this table, and this table will help him in recollecting things. Similarly, see this, all this, the whole background, very crisp points. In 2-3 pages, whole tribal issue is covered. Similarly, one way that you can make notes is, let's say I'll show an example to you. Let's take the case of Rajya Sabha. So let's take the example of Rajya Sabha. Now you are making notes on Rajya Sabha for mains. So this is how you will do it. First thing that you will do is, you will see the PYQ of Rajya Sabha. You will see on which dimensions UPSC has asked question in mains in Rajya Sabha. Right? So based on that, in the beginning what you will do is, you will start with introduction. That if the question is asked on Rajya Sabha, these are the 2-3 types of introduction that I can give. Followed by powers of Rajya Sabha, because they can ask question on comparing powers of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. So you can draw a table where you mention that what are the special powers of Rajya Sabha, equal powers and less powers. Followed by powers of Rajya Sabha chairman. They have asked the question on this. Followed by analysis part. Analysis may, when we talk about role played by Rajya Sabha, or why it should be abolished. So, or why it should not be abolished. So basically, these are the pointers you can make. Federalism, just one line may expand karo with example. Prevent hasty legislation, one line example, elaborate. Giving representation to experts, one line example, expand. Promoting democracy. Issues with functioning of Rajya Sabha. Useless, Stephanie Tyler, that is a term used by the UPSC in one of the mains exam. Federalism, how it violates federalism, how it violates democracy, money power is there, and how it is a refuge house for defeated politicians. Right? Followed by way forward. So way forward may, in polity, in your notes, there should be 3-4 things that should be there. One, recommendation of any committee. Then you have any international example. So we have the US model. Then you have the Supreme Court judgments, if there are any. This will be part of your way forward. Followed by conclusion, 2-3 types of conclusion. So this whole Rajya Sabha will cover 2 to 2.5 pages, and you are done. Now if a question comes on Rajya Sabha, you are very well prepared to write an awesome answer, because your notes are in the form of answer writing. They are structured in a way that will help you in writing a good answer. Right? So this is how you will make the note making. Now let's come to the third point, which is time management. Time management and time allocation. So Kunal, what was your strategy? Did you attempted all the questions with equal quality, or you identified that these are certain questions I know well, so probably I'll give more time to it? So what was your strategy?
Sir, all 20 questions can never be written in the same quality or in the same standard. Not possible to cover it in 3 hours. Then we need at least 4 hours to be able to do that. Plus, how much effort we put in at this stage of our preparation, sir. All 20 questions we will never be able to really recollect at the same level. So it is better to spend your time more on those questions or those areas where you are an expert, or you remember the content very well, or you know things. I certainly believe, sir, about 13 questions if falls under this category. You are aware, you know about the topics, you know the committees, you know some data, facts, figures, or diagrams. First thing is tick those when you got the paper. फटाफट से 2 मिनट लगा के you tick those 12-13 questions and attempt them first. Finish it off in 2 hours. 2 से कम ही लगता है. 2 maybe if you finish 2 to 5 hours में, then you are good. If you spend that much time on those questions. Then last के 1 hour में you can do the remaining 7-8 questions. easily. If you have the lesser quality on them, you don't know those questions, and you're not very well prepared. By chance, if you know more questions, if you know like 15 good questions, then you spend more time on them. You take like 2 hours, 15 minutes, or 2 hours. In fact, even 30 minutes you can take if you know good 15, 16 questions. You take 2.5 hours, and in then remaining 30 minutes, you finish off 5 questions. Because anyway, you're not going to get good marks in the remaining 5 questions. आता ही नहीं है, कंटेंट ही नहीं है, तो लिखोगे क्या? तो फोकस, वो बहुत प्लानिंग जो लगती है ना स्टार्टिंग के 2 मिनट में, that time planning and time allocation has to be done. Then second thing, sir, I always do this in my paper, and I would like to highlight this because it becomes very crucial. You should have a watch from the first question itself. If you're writing a question and you have taken 13 minutes, 14 minutes for a 10 marker, you are screwed. So stop doing that right away. If in first half an hour you have not written even 3 questions, then you are going wrong. If in first 1 hour you have not written even 6 questions, then you are very slow. Improve that. So even during the exam paper, you have the opportunity. After first 1 hour, you can again pace up and do that thing. Because quality थोड़ा बहुत compromise होगा, तो it will be a half a mark difference. But if you leave 5 questions, 3 questions, 4 questions, then the chances of getting selected are gone basically. So you have to really make it a balance.
Very, very good points raised by Kunal, and that's basically he's telling from his experience that you can't write topper level answers in every answer, right? The whole idea is that even the rank one, he or she also decides that these are my expert areas, these are the areas which I know well, and probably I can get an extra 1 or 2 marks in those areas. And these are the areas I know decently well, and these are the areas I don't know much. So that's how you will prioritize your time. You will allocate more time to topics that you know more, because you can get that extra 1 or 2 marks there. Then you will go to those questions that you know decently well but not that well. And third, in the end, as Kunal has said, last 1 hour you will attempt those questions which you know halka halka. So the idea is that this is how you will do it. You can't devote 7 minutes to every question. You can devote 9-10 minutes to some questions, and you can devote 5 minutes only to those questions that you don't know well. Because even if you end up giving 10 minutes or 12 minutes to those questions, you will still be scoring 2 marks, 3 marks only. Right? So this is a very, very important point which is made by Kunal, and it should be implemented by you. Fourth and very important, you have templates for different types of answer introductions. Somebody has asked this question also, and I would like to again answer that. Definitely, to write a good answer in 7 minutes, you need to have templates of introductions. That, let's say if we talk about polity, this is basically 5 types of introduction that you can use. Mostly in all the questions of polity, you can either start with context based, like why it was in news. You can start with constitutional article, that XYZ talks about the ordinance. You can start with definition, defining the term. For example, a question is asked on constitutional morality, you start with defining it. Then quote, you can start with quote in some questions. For example, the question is about federalism, you can talk about KC Vary, start with that. And lastly, you can start with report data index. For example, if the question is asked about parliament disruption, you can start with the data, that how exactly in this last Lok Sabha, how many days it was disrupted and called off. So this is the 5 ways you can start introduction. Now when you know that this is the template you have, you'll not have to think on the spot. You see a question and just brainstorm that out of these 5, which are the type of introduction I will implement in this paper, or in this question. So my question to you again, Kunal, is that did you also made certain frameworks that okay, ये subject है तो इस type के introduction मैं दे सकता हूँ?
सर ऐसे सब्जेक्ट वाइज तो मैंने नहीं अलग किया था, बट आई वुड मतलब एक्चुअली प्रैक्टिस मेरी ज्यादा चल रही थी, तो उससे मेरे को आइडिया था दिमाग में कि व्हेन आई वाज प्रैक्टिसिंग आई वुड नो कि फैक्ट्स का एक इंट्रोडक्शन हो सकता है, तो मोस्टली इकोनॉमिक्स में फैक्ट बेस्ड इंट्रोडक्शन चले जाते थे. पॉलिटी में आई वुड गो फॉर मोस्टली इंपॉर्टेंस बेस्ड इंट्रोडक्शंस. लाइक इफ देयर इज अ क्वेश्चन ऑन राज्यसभा का पावर, आई वुड हाईलाइट व्हाट इज द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ राज्यसभा in the federal democratic polity. I would try to relate it with the preamble as in that way. So those are the kind of things I would try to do. Geography you can't do much, history you can't do much. What is there, what is there. History also actually, sir, importance based questions, importance based introductions we could do.
Significance, yes, yes. Significance based. That why this event or why this movement is so important to Indian national
Sir,
movement.
why did the question matter at all? Like, if there's a question on women, why do women matter at all? If it is talking about inequality between men and women, then I would specify the quantum of women that we have in this society and how they have been discriminated against. You can start with those kind of importance based introductions, and that gives a very good push to the answer because they touch the heart of the evaluator कि he feels कि हाँ कुछ बात है बात करने वाली, and then he is more interested in reading the main content of the body.
And how important is introduction to you? I mean, is it just for the sake of that you have to write? What do you think should be? What do you think is the impact of introduction in getting good marks?
This I have heard from somebody some time back. Introduction is like your own introduction. What you are writing in the introduction shows how you think about that particular topic and what is the importance of that particular topic in your own mind and heart. And if you are becoming a bureaucrat or if you are applying to become a civil servant, your heart should be in the right place and you should be able to somebody should be able to tell about your characteristic by reading that particular introduction. That is how I would leave you with this. This I think should get to your heart as to how you can make introduction show how you feel about a particular topic.
And how many lines do you think? I mean, how should be? What should be the length of the introduction?
So 2 3 lines, I think, unless it's a 15 marker very so sometimes the questions come as in which are very vague. You don't have very clear body introduction separation, like essay type में that's different. तो बट अदरवाइज जैसे सर एथिक्स में होता है, ये एथिक्स में जो द कोटेशन वाला क्वेश्चन जो आता है
Yes.
उसमें इट इज वेरी हार्ड टू सेपरेट इंट्रोडक्शन एंड बॉडी. देयर इट कैन गो फॉर लॉन्गर, अदरवाइज 2 3 4 lines at max, and we should just move on to the body right away. 3 is general, I think, standard. I think we should keep, sir.
I think again, very good points. That introduction, as Kunal has said, that is it is just like your introduction. You know, the impression the evaluator makes about you. You know, he actually makes about you by seeing those 2 3 lines. That's why it's very very important, and that's why, you know, as we both have said, that it's very important to have a template. Otherwise, if you will think on the spot कि हर क्वेश्चन का मैं अलग इंट्रोडक्शन ऑन द स्पॉट बनाऊंगा, if you don't have any kind of a template for it, then definitely it will waste a lot of your time. So if you want to write an answer in 7 minutes, you should have at least broader templates that should be ready for almost all the main topics or all the main subjects. Coming to the next point, which is, again, you should also have template for different types of answer conclusions. For example, in economics, if we see, so if a question is asked on economics, mostly you have 4 or 5 types of conclusion that you can make. You can either end up with the broader agenda of the government. These steps will help us in achieving Viksit Bharat, Atmanirbhar Bharat, right? So the broader goal of the government. Second could be you can have a specific conclusion, specific target of that sector. For example, if the question is asked about food processing, you can end up by saying these steps will help us in achieving the goal of Vision 2030 on food processing. So you can end up with, you know, mentioning the specific goal of that sector. Third, you can end up with, the SDG goal. For example, a question is asked on, let's say, poverty, or probably, hunger, or probably any other topic, inequality. So you can end up with SDG 2, SDG 3, SDG 1, right? Fourth is you can end up with DPSP also. That, if the question is asked, let's say about UBI, or let's say about land reform, you can say that these steps will help us in achieving the goals that are mentioned in Article 39B and C. So 6 7 types are there in economics. That is, you can use in the question based on the kind of question. Again, my question to you is, Kunal, how important is conclusion?
Um, Sir, concluding remarks leave the final impact. That is basically 2 lines in which you summarize your thought. You should leave the examiner with the curiosity and a very single line thought. Ki if something is related to preamble or if something is ensuring the larger democracy in this country, that is what you should write in conclusion. कि Rajya Sabha, if it is important for federalism or if it is important for ensuring the balance in the between the states and the union, write just that in the conclusion. And if you have if the question has asked way forward, that's different. Otherwise, just write a single line mein what could be the way forward and how we could improve the system. I would generally focus on improving the systems in conclusions. But yes, there are other ways like history where you can't write anything which will improve history. So you write a futuristic conclusion, I would say, as to either what can be done or why it is important or why where would it lead us if we do this, where could we go ahead, and how it could be really important for the overall functioning of this country, how it fits in the constitutional aspect. But before all of this, one line summarizing your answer in just keywords. Key, if it ensures federalism, you write that. Key, it gives us a way to ensure federal democratic polity, or it gives us a way to ensure socialistic pattern of our society. That gives a very good ending to your thoughts, I think.
So, as very good points that basically, as you have rightly said, that way forward is suggestion. Conclusion is that if we implement those suggestions, what we will achieve. So, it's as you have said, futuristic thing. That if we implement these, if we take these steps, we will move towards, let's say, federal socialistic society, or we will move towards Viksit Bharat, or we will move, we will move towards whatever goal that we have. So that goal should be your conclusion. And way forward is the suggestions. That if we want to move towards the goal, what are the steps we need to take? Right. So as very rightly pointed out by Kunal also, that conclusion is the last thing which an examiner sees before awarding you the marks. Just consider it like your, your race, your the race that you go for. Now in that race, if you are running the race really well, and just at the end, if probably you stop, then what will happen? Ultimately, the others will move forward. Others will win the race. In the same way, in the end, if you have already written a good answer, but the conclusion is weak, then ultimately you will lose that extra 1 or 2 marks that you might get if you write a good conclusion. So for conclusion also, it's very important to have a template, as Kunal has also said, that if you have a template, basic template for all the subjects, it will save a lot of your time. You will probably not think on the spot. Next and very important thing that we'll discuss is that you need to also have templates for your main body of the answer. So see, ultimately in this, I think the best way to do is that, let's say if you have any scheme, or if you have any policy. Now, if you have identified that in India, the schemes and policies, they suffer from at least these 8 or 9 handicaps. For example, from administrative side, they mostly suffer for top-down approach is there, lack of coordination, leakage issue is there, right? The grievanceal system is weak. Similarly, from the beneficiary side, there is issue of awareness, there is gender and caste gaps, the social audit might be weak. Now, if you have a template ready, that mostly in India, if the question is asked any scheme or policy, these are the general issues that we have. For example, let's say if we talk about right-based commissions. So all these right-based commissions, they suffer from same 7-8 things, 8 or 9 problems. So if you have that template ready for the main body, again that will reduce your thinking time on the spot. For example, if we talk about, if the question says, like this question was asked by UPSC, discuss the main contribution of Gupta period and Chola period to Indian heritage and culture. The moment you see the word culture, it should come to your mind that culture means these 10 aspects. Now you start thinking from those different 10 aspects. That okay, culture means 10 aspects. So out of these 10 aspects, how many I know? Let's say I know only 5. So what I will do is I will fill the information on these 5 aspects. Now again, that will save your thinking time. For example, if any question has a keyword society, impact of XYZ on Indian society. So when it says society, again, you should directly think about society means women, tribes, patriarchy, family, caste, class, right? So ultimately, straight away it should come to your mind. So straight away you know that, let's say globalization impact on Indian society. So straight away it should come to your mind. Society means 6 aspects. So let me cover it one by one. Globalization का impact on caste, globalization का impact on women, patriarchy, class. So it will reduce your thinking time. It will reduce your thinking time, right? You will not see on the spot. On the spot आपको सोचना नहीं पड़ेगा मैं कैसे break करूं. On the spot you have those 6 words, 6 dimensions, and you just have to fill information there, right? So my question to again, Kunal, I think main body maybe if you have those templates ready for at least the core thing, I think it will definitely help in the actual exam.
Definitely, sir. Like I showed you my notes, that thing was always there. The notes itself will be prepared in that format. You discuss an issue, you discuss the problems related to it, then you discuss the solutions related to it, then you go for committees related to it or the data related to it. That helps a lot, sir. Obviously, if main body has a structure, like sir, initially my answers did not have structure, and then when you started reviewing them in 2017, over a period of 3-4 months, I learned how to structure answers. It didn't happen in 1 month also. It took me, I think, three to 4 months. When I remember, after that I had some structure in my answers, wherein you, so if a question is presented to you, it will have 2 to 3 parts. It will never be a single straightforward question. Even if it looks like a single line question, it will always have 2 to 3 parts. If it's a 10 marker question, it should be 2 parts. If it is a 15 marker question, it should ideally be 3 parts. You think what the question is asking. If and prepare those headings and write it according to that only. You should have that structure in your mind ready. Okay, I will, if this kind of question there's a language to each question. If it comes, you should know that problems come first, then solutions, and then way forward. So that is the kind of planning I think, sir, we should do it from the beginning itself. And it should reflect in answer writing practice also, because paper will always have the same thing.
Very good, very good. Yes. Moving on to the next point, which is understanding the tail words. Now, basically, Kunal, your opinion to it. Tail words. Most of the aspirants make this mistake only. They just see the question and they see the theme and they write whatever they know about the theme. So, how important are these tail words?
Sir, this differentiates the answer. I remember in ethics, we used to get these questions wherein a statement is given and then it says elucidate. That will mostly happen in ethics most of the times. GS 1, 2, 3, no, not 1, 2 and 3 will almost have the similar things, but 1 and 4.
4. 1 and 4, they mostly have this elucidate. Yeah.
Now, enumerate and elucidate are the two most miss tail words, I guess. They need examples. They need descriptive answers rather than argumentative answers. Evaluate is you should be giving a conclusion at the end. Ki whether what do you say about that particular statement or that particular process that has been asked in the question. Critically evaluate is, see, you have to be critical even in evaluate, but remember, evaluate may your conclusion should say which side you support. I feel that, because as a bureaucrat, the most important thing you do is take decisions. And if you can't decide even on paper whether a question is asked कि ये हाँ होना चाहिए या ना होना चाहिए, then evaluator knows that how hard it is going to be for you to take decisions as well. So decision making, I think that is where the evaluation part remains. Elucidate and enumerate, they are more descriptive. Elucidate may you should use example and elucidate with an example how it will work. In fact, in ethics, in my second attempt, matlab in my after selection first attempt 2019, in ethics I did not I wanted to improve more, and I realized that if elucidate me, you start with an example itself and then you come to the main statement of the question. That was very helpful to come up with the to cover up those statement wala questions or some particular phrase questions.
Yes. So, really good inputs again. As you have said, this is basically a fact also that it's very important to understand the tail words. Ki evaluate kya hai, comment kya hai. Because if it says only elucidate, it means you just have to explain the statement. For example, this question was asked by UPSC. I think self-help group, which is India's own innovation, has proved to be one of the most effective poverty alleviation and women empowerment program, elucidate. Now, ultimately, it says elucidate. It means you just have to explain the statement. You just have to prove it. Ki how it has proved to be one of the most effective poverty elevation and women empowerment program. You will not have to do any analysis. You don't have to say these are the issues with SSGs, these are the way forward, etc. It will not. If suppose the keyword would have been, instead of elucidate, it would have been analysis, analyze or evaluate or critically discuss, then you would have to discuss the other side also. What are the issues with SSGs? What are the solutions to it? So see, the moment these tail words change, the moment your approach of answer writing will also change. Right? So if you don't really, if you can't decipher the tail words, then definitely you will struggle to write a good answer. You will definitely struggle to write a good answer in 7 minutes. Right? Similarly, let's say if this question is this, evaluate the nature of Bhakti literature and its contribution to Indian culture. Now you just can't write this is Bhakti literature, this is the contribution of Bhakti literature. The tail word is evaluate, which means you will also mention that what were the problems with Bhakti literature. For example, it was more religious and philosophical, so it did not represent a break from orthodoxy. It failed to create any kind of political awakening in people, right? So ultimately you have to discuss these problems also, because these problems are very, very important. I mean, if you don't discuss it, you will actually lose marks, right? So the difference, as what Kunal has also said, that basically the idea is that if it says evaluate, if it says critically evaluate, you have to write both the sides. The difference lies in the fact that when it says critically evaluate, then what you need to do is you need to write more points for the critical side. If it says only evaluate, then you have to write more sides in favor. So that's how you differentiate between evaluate and critically evaluate, analyze and critically analyze. That's how you do it. Similarly, next thing that we will discuss is strategic use of tables and diagrams. Now my question to you is, Kunal, how important are diagrams and tables in answer writing?
Sir, I have a very differing opinion on this with a lot of people in the industry. Um, like I've always said, sir, my answers will not have diagrams or tables or flowcharts so easily. They'll be rare in my answers because my answers comes in a flow and they'll be very fast written. So rarely I would use. They may sometimes help though. If you have a geography question where you have to put in iron ores if it is asked, if some wildlife sanctuaries are specifically asked, you can mention it in a map, or if there is a graph you want to show, you can do it. Like if you're talking about the GDP growth rate and all that, if you remember the graphs, you can draw it. But otherwise, they should not be irrelevant. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि a question does not, like, if a question asks about difference between two terms, there you can make a table, but there you can't make a diagram. That will make no sense. Similarly, if it is a very plain question which asks you to critically evaluate the system of parliament or the functioning of judiciary, making diagrams or tables or flowcharts there, it is unnecessary. So we shouldn't do that. Second is another thing that I would like to highlight, sir. Flowcharts के नाम पे we've started drawing those arrow-based things. They should totally be avoided in your good answers. They can be done in the last half an hour wala questions where you just want to wrap it up in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or 4 minutes. But if you know some topic, specifically judiciary, that is a topic where nobody expects you to make वो notes नहीं है. These are papers where you are writing your answers. If your answers are like your notes, then marks will also be like notes. So that is something I would really like to highlight at this answer, sir.
Very, very good point. Again, I mean, I would agree with you almost 90%. So basically, see, as we have said that many people or many aspirants, I see copies every day. I see that they draw diagrams like anything. If you overdo anything, you will lose marks. Now, as Kunal has rightly said, very rightly said, and I would like to emphasize again and again, that you can't draw diagrams in the core part of your answer. Your core part of your answer should be only in bullet points. There is absolutely no way you can actually draw diagrams in the core part of your answer. Because as he has said, these are not your notes, right? Your answer should look mature. आप वो चार डायग्राम बना दोगे अपने आंसर्स में, it will look very mature, Right. So to draw a diagram, you should actually, it's a very important weapon, but you should use it in a very, very potent way. So you can draw diagrams only when it's a non-core part. For example, let's say the question is asked on parliament. So you draw a graph highlighting how the number of sitting of parliament has reduced. Or let's say, ultimately a question is asked on, let's say, any scheme, and it talks about analyzing that scheme. Now you can draw a flow chart mentioning the features of that scheme. The feature is a factual part. So you can either draw diagram in the non-core part of your answer, which is the part that is not specifically asked in the question, or you can draw diagram in the factual part, which you don't have to emphasize on. So just have to mention those facts. Let's say you draw a flow chart and then you mention those 4 or 5 features and you just move away with it. Or you can draw diagrams in geography, in art and culture, in security, in IR. These are the areas you can draw diagram. Similarly, you can draw table in a 10 marker when the question is asked on comparison. Let's say if they ask a question comparing Niti Aayog and Planning Commission. So it's a 10 marker and you need to save your time and space, you can draw a diagram. But never draw diagram in the core part of your answer. That's the biggest mistake people do. Core part of your answer has to be written in points. Because as Kunal also said very rightly, that these are not your notes. The answer should have some kind of maturity to it. If there is no maturity, then you will not get marks. I have seen last year various aspirants getting pathetic marks, and because they have drawn too many diagrams in the answers. So diagram can help you save the time, but it's very important that you should know when to use the diagram, when and where to use the diagram. That's very, very important. So like this is a copy of rank 16, Shishir Singh. Now see, he has drawn the diagram, but if you see, he has drawn the diagram in the non-core part. There is one keyword, effective governance. So in the non-core part, he has drawn the diagram. But if you see the core part, rest of the answer, if you see, he has written in points only. Right? Moving on. Answer writing, you have developed answer writing muscle memory. So practicing answers. Now, again, my question to you, how many answers should you write?
Sir, if you remember, I started with 4 questions a day, and
Yes.
I did it continuously for 4 months to be able to get to that speed and that structure. So,
Yes.
because we can't spend too much time on a daily basis, also, sir, somehow what you started initially, now I am suggesting it to everyone. You just write 4 answers on a daily basis, each GS, follow it for 6 months, and you'll be pro at answer writing. That's the simplest funda, sir.
Very good. As you have also said that it helps in developing muscle memory also. You write, keep on writing it. Definitely it will improve your speed. It will improve your recollection memory. It will also help in revision. So the key success or the key criteria to write an answer in 7 minutes is you should have written at least 500, 600 answers on your own. Moving to the next part, which is using frameworks like pestle approach. So basically my point or my viewpoint to it is that pestle approach can be used. Pestle means you are analyzing an issue from various angles: political, economic, social, cultural, technological, economic, environmental, legal, right? So the moment you have keywords like discuss the implications, effects, importance, right? So if you consequences, if you have these keywords in the question, you can go for the pestle approach also, because pestle approach helps you in 2 ways. One, that it will save your time. You will have multiple dimensions straight away, because आपको एकाएक 5-6 dimensions में points मिल जाएंगे. Political reason ये हो सकता है, economic reason ये हो सकता है. So that will save your thinking time. And second, it also shows that you have a civil servant kind of attitude. Because whenever there is a problem, if you are a DM of a district and there is a riot, you think from all dimensions. You don't just think from one dimension. That is law and order. You think from multiple dimensions. So it shows that analytical civil servant kind of thinking in your answers. So I think I saw your answers, Kunal, and I believe that you used it very frequently, the pestle approach.
Sir, I did. Because I come from a known arts background, so I did not have a lot of knowledge on economics or geography or polity also. So for me to start thinking on these angles, the approach helped a lot. But sir, having said that, I would like to highlight one thing. Finally, common sense is also very important. What some of us start to do is pastel approach in every question. We start to
Every
just go by
question.
politically, socially, economically, historically, culturally. We start writing this in each and every question. It doesn't work that way. You cannot have full pastel in every answer. It is just to give you a way to start to think. It is not your answer altogether कि पहला एक पॉलिटिकल का पॉइंट लिखेंगे, दूसरा सोशल का, तीसरा इकोनॉमिक्स का, नहीं, ये नहीं करना है. You have to think and knit an answer with all the points. It might as well happen that your political point might coincide with historical point, so you write it in a way that it reflects your understanding that they combine, they are one and the same thing, or it has an impact on each other also. तो उस तरीके से इस अप्रोच को यूज करके यू थिंक, come up with points and then analyze them and then write it on paper.
Very good, very good. Moving on to the next is which is identify core and non-core part of the question. So every question, many questions have this non-core part, which is just a passing statement and a directive that in the light of that statement examine X, Y, Z. So the idea to write a good answer in 7 minutes is that the non-core part, you should only devote 25% of your time or your space, and core part 75%. For example, this question was asked by UPSC. Besides the welfare scheme, India needs a deft management of inflation and employment to serve the poor and underprivileged sections of society. Discuss. Now, basically, besides the welfare scheme, this is the non-core part. It's just a passing statement. So ultimately, non-core part, you can even use diagram for it. For example, you can just mention, draw a flow chart and mention these are the welfare scheme that mostly we have in India. Or let's say this question, besides being a moral imperative of a welfare state. So again, this is just a passing statement, non-core part. Or let's say this question, parliamentary disruption hampers constructive deliberation and impedes the functioning of legislative process. Highlight the reasons for disruption and measures to address the same. Now, in this question, if you see, this statement, the first statement can be a passing statement. It's just a passing statement. This is a directive. Highlight the reasons. This is the directive. So this part, this first part, you can't devote more than half a page to it, because this is the non-core part. It's not really asked in the question, just a passing statement. This is actually asked in the question, reasons for disruptions. So this is an area where you will focus 75% of your time, right? So this core and non-core part identification is very, very important, because if you can identify that, then you actually will devote more time to the core part of the answer. And it is the core part of the answer that will fetch you the marks. Moving on to the last thing that we have, and I would like your opinion also, Kunal. Which pen to use while writing answers? And which pen did you use?
Sir, I always used Pilot का वो पुराने वाला, not the bigger one, the white, the cream color one, V5 I think, V5.
Okay,
हाँ
so
सर, वो
and I think
Pilot का cream
pen,
वाला
I
पेन आता
think
था
pen
वो.
is also very important, because certain kinds of pen, it slows down your speed. Can you
Yes
just,
sir.
if you have experienced any pen which you would suggest to avoid?
Sir, there are two things that I say pen plays a role. One is your speed, and the other is your writing itself. We a lot of us take up the pens which are smooth, but smooth pens have a tendency to just flow, and the writing quality goes bad. If it's a rough
So
pen, it remains in control and the writing is good also. So I use Pilot cream pen, वो V5 आता है सर शायद, cream वाला. वो उसमें क्या रहता है कि वो rough रहता है, but it is thin also, तो speed also doesn't reduce, and it remains within my hands control as to how to write. So the formations of the words and the writing, it remains good.
okay, okay. So these are the 12 things that we have discussed, the important things. Now we will open the floor. Whatever questions that you have, you can ask. Before we move to that question answer round, I would again like to announce that we have launched the Show Short Mains program, which has various aspects, and we are giving we are just taking 50 students. So basically, it's based on those who fill this form also. So we'll be providing that early bird 10% discount to those who have filled the form. we have already, the form is already there in the comment box. So you just fill the form and then you can avail the discount. Now let's start with the Q&A. So whatever questions you have, me and Kunal are more than happy to answer it. So I think we'll take some questions, so which have already been asked. So I think Snigdha is saying I am taking a lot of time to write an answer. Just huh. I am taking a lot of time to write the answer. How to reduce time, Kunal?
Sir, I think if somebody is taking too much time, there are few reasons. One is either you don't know the topic. Second is you're not able to really articulate your own thoughts and write on the paper. Uh, Third is your speed itself is slow. So speed will develop with time, sir. More answers she writes, I think it will develop. But first two are more important. If you don't know the answer, that means you have not read your topics. Or if you're writing an answer and you don't know the topic, you read it first and then write the answer. Second is, sir, you are not able to articulate the thought. That means after reading the subjects that you have read, you have not thought about them. ये भी सर एक पॉइंट है which did not come up in the topic directly, so I would like to take some few seconds to explain this. We read a lot. Caste we have read, religion we have read, federalism we have read. But if we have not thought about it by reading the newspapers or by walking around, if I'm going in a car, if I don't see a street hawker and I don't think what is going on around me, then the purpose is lost, sir. And paper mein na, this has a very high impact sometimes. If you have analyzed those topics in real life situations, ki how I could have improved this hawker's life, or how I could have improved the transportation system in the city, or did we really need a metro in Bangalore or not? Do we really need a metro in Indore or not? If you just, and these are sir, simple thoughts that we need to do while walking. You're walking on the road in the evening and you can think about it. You're going from your library to your PG and you can think about it. And I think we should do that. So, Snigdha, I think these are three aspects that you need to take care of. Uh, the first two are more important. The third one will improve with time if you're attempting 2025.
Very good points. John C is saying that shall we make digital notes or handwritten? What do you suggest?
Digital any day, sir. Handwritten notes cannot be upgraded. They
Yes.
they are not movable. You can't carry 10 books with you anytime. But if you're using a software and if you're using a tab, you can just carry the tab in metro, in bus, in auto rickshaw, or you if you're going to a friend's house, you can just take it whenever you feel like reading. You read it. Plus, upgradation is such easier thing. You get new data, you incorporate. You get new issues like women. Women is a larger topic, but it has so many smaller issues that keeps cropping up. One is कि reservation होनी चाहिए नहीं होनी चाहिए legislature में, education का क्या करें, Medicare का क्या करें, relationships का क्या करें. So all of that you have to write. And in physical notes, what you can't do is fix a number of pages for a particular topic, and then updating, keeping it together is very difficult in physical notes. इसलिए I suggest digital majorly.
And I think that has also a lot to do with you being an IT engineer. So definitely we can't expect you to do the old way of doing things.
I used to do is I'll print those notes before exam. 15 days before the exam, I'll print all these notes and read from the printouts. Only
So
for the whole period I would do that.
So ultimately, this friend here is saying that please provide some tips for working professional. Now, Kunal, you had also cracked this exam twice with full-time working. So what is your suggestion?
Sir, I had done my preparation before going for full-time working and appearing for the exam. I spent 2 years of my life on this preparation. So per se, my things do not apply directly. But with working, sir, I would say you have to utilize your time more effectively. Morning and evening, you have to spend time on your studies. If you wake up at 6 or 7, spend 2 hours before going to the office, and lunch you cut down a little so that you can probably listen to some news or listen to some topics or think. And another thing, sir, working वालों के लिए it becomes more important to think on the go. Like when you are going in the bus or you are driving, you think about your topic. That develops a lot of topics, I believe, sir. In the evening also you can spend about 2 to 3 hours. So I believe on weekdays you cannot spend more than 4 hours. One thing that working professionals should do is move closer to their workplace. That is one mistake we do, sir. We do not stay near to our workplaces. That spoils a lot of time. If you have to spend 1 hour traveling, then you get exhausted by the time you reach your home, and you don't. Sir, I also didn't want to study after night. Like, even if I go back from office now, I'm so exhausted. I don't want to do anything else. So it applies to everybody else also. So it's better to cut down that time and that travel.
Good. So, Rishabh is saying good marks to score out of 10 or 15. Well, it depends on which subject we are seeing, because certain subjects are more liberal in the marking. For example, GS2 and GS4 you can score more. GS3 is more at the lower side these days. So it depends on the subject that we have. Fees of the program is 28,000, but those who will fill this form, they will get a 10% discount. So fill this form also. Explain about the workbooks of Sure Shot. So basically the workbook template remains the same, in the same way that I had told you about Rajya Sabha. That is how the workbooks will be made, which is technically all dimension on which a question can be asked, or which you can write in your answers. Workbook will actually focus on that. So it is a kind of a notes that we will provide you, and you can build up on those notes that we will provide you. Now, more questions? Can the team just scroll it down? Okay. What are the micro things? Acha, how to incorporate current affairs in your notes? Kunal?
On a daily basis, sir. As simple as
Yes.
this. You read a topic. You read. Let's suppose you spend 1 hour reading the news today, and then you go back 15 minutes. You take and you write down all your points in your notes. If it is digital notes, it will be 15-20 minutes only. It will not be more than that, because daily news is just furtherance of the earlier 2 days or 3 days news. It is only maybe some judgment would have come, some final decision would have come, some fact might have come to the news, something else. But the topic goes on for 15-20 days in newspapers. So you keep just updating it. It doesn't take much time.
Now, Prince has asked that please give some tips to essays, related essays. Now, as you know, Kunal, over the years, essays have become very philosophical. So, how to interpret the essays? Any blueprint that we have?
Ha sir, bilkul. Philosophical are the best essays. I only write philosophical if it is there in front of me. Sir,
So,
you
what was
get
your
the
approach while going for these philosophical essays?
you get the maximum freedom to write. There is no restriction on how you interpret a topic for a philosophical topic. You can do wonders with it. I remember 2018, I think they had asked first time both
Yes,
sections
yes,
philosophical, and I still remember I had written this topic wherein I integrated a lot of things from somebody's notes. Um, I'll just take the topic itself, sir. A good life is one inspired by love and guided by knowledge, sir. Such an amazing topic. Such an amazing topic. I remember I started with the nuclear nuclear development. Ki how nuclear technology was supposed to be built for benefit of the people, although the technology is still good, technology can still be used, the knowledge is good, but because good love was not there, it was guided by knowledge but not love. The motive was to destroy, and it did not lead to good life of people. Then I contradicted it with Buddha. How Buddha went with his philosophy with love as well as knowledge. He focuses on both, and how it improves the satisfaction level of people, and how it really leads to a good life. And then with this introduction, I moved on to the definition of good life itself. What is a good life? Nobody knows, sir, what is a good life. Can it
yes.
be? Can you call it with money? I started with marks on this. Ki, would it be related to economy or would it be related to society? And then I said it has to be a combination of both. You have to have money and you have to have a good social network to be able to lead a good life. And that is how you deduce the topic. And then you moved on to how love can be developed, and why love is important, and then why knowledge is important, and what role does knowledge play in preparing the good life. And then if one is missing, what could happen with the other one? You engage on that conversation, and then you end with, if both are there, what can be done? This sir, there's a senior Abhishek, unke essay notes are available. I read it in the morning just by chance. It got to me last night only. In the morning I read those notes and I used so many phrases from his notes. The note had a phrase which said, "Ki world is." I do not remember exactly the words, but it said the world is revolving. World is facing four storms, and I explained four storms and how each one of them can be solved with both love and knowledge. It included like poverty, it included things like environmental issues. So then in last 2 pages, I just discussed how each of these problems can be solved with just love and knowledge. If you have both of them, then only they can be solved. If you remove one out of the other, it will never be solved. So I believe, sir, philosophical essays have a very good scope of writing good content if you have thought about it. Luckily, I had those notes also. Those notes are very helpful, sir. Very, very helpful.
So I think any other source that you use, newspaper and all?
Sir, newspaper, see, GS contents are always is there, like whatever we read. But I believe essay, mein na, it is important to have the known GS exposure. We read these books, sir. There is this book by Mackenzie, I think they published a book which has essays on India, multiple essays on India, and it's an amazing book. I made notes out of it. I've kept those notes to my juniors. I've given those notes whoever asked for it. Though the book has different topics and have suggested how we can improve it. Right now, sir, I've just started a book. This was recommended by अनुदीप, आई थिंक अनुदीप सर जो हैं, उन्होंने शायद रिकमेंड की थी ब्रिजिटल नेशन, या फिर किसी और ने ब्रिजिटल करके है सर वो बुक. एंड दैट बुक अगेन डिस्कसेस अबाउट हाउ digital technology should be used to help India's growth and how it can remove poverty or society. So I've just started reading it, but these are the kind of books we should be reading for developing that essay content.
Okay, so on a lighter note, so how is your life now? Working as deputy commissioner, how is it sitting at the other side of the table?
It's good, hectic, but work is good, sir. I must say this. Uh, Nice, amazing work I'm getting, and I'm doing it. Though it's hectic, dedication is required. But other than that, it's a nice place, sir.
Okay, okay, okay. So I think we have mostly covered all the questions that have been asked, and thank you, Kunal, for coming with us. And it's a really, really very, very interesting session. Acha, one question we'll take, Shivam. How to improve handwriting? Anything we can do?
सर हैंडराइटिंग के लिए आई थिंक वही है, स्लो स्लो स्टार्ट करो. यू शुड कंट्रोल योर स्पीड. हैंडराइटिंग खराब होती है क्योंकि सर हमारी स्पीड बहुत ज्यादा रहती है. अभी इनिशियली ही हैज टू स्टार्ट, हार्दिक नहीं, शिवम, शिवम हैज टू स्टार्ट विद स्मॉलर आंसर्स विद लेसर स्पीड. देन धीरे धीरे वर्ड फॉर्मेशंस इंप्रूव एंड हैंडराइटिंग इंप्रूव. सर इसका कोई सोल्यूशन नहीं है सच, unless you practice. You have to practice with speed, less speed initially.
So again, now we have almost discussed everything, and I literally thank Kunal for joining here and giving so many important insights to aspirants. And definitely, those who will be preparing for next year or this year itself, they would have got a lot of good inputs on answer writing. So this is just a one session. We'll have very regular sessions in our short mains program also. And as I've said earlier also, that program is starting from 28th. So we have a form here. You can fill the form and then avail a discount. So thank you, Kunal, for coming out. And we wish you a lot of success. And definitely you're doing a great work. I have spoken to you and you have been telling us how well you have been, or how important your posting is at this moment, and how important it is for India's growth, future growth. So I think continue to do this good job, and we all are very proud of you. And
Thank you
thank you
so
for
much,
coming.
sir. It was a pleasure to be here, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.